From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Ticats Today with Brayden Neville.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ticats Today for this Monday, July the 24th, 2023. On today's episode, Coach O speaks about bouncing back after the loss and the return of QB1. And Levi Mitchell, he spoke to media following today's practice for the first time since returning to the field. And I sat down with Stavros Katsantonis just to get to know the Ticats safety a little bit more, talk about the season and his upbringing into the CFL. But first, let's get to some news around the team. And the big story of the day, and probably the biggest story that's come out for the Ticats this season, is the return of Levi Mitchell to practice for the first time since suffering that injury in the second week of the season against the Argos. Has yet to make a start at home for the Ticats, playing in the first two games on the road against Winnipeg and Toronto, and of course he went down with that injury against the Argos. So this is a positive sign. The veteran QB is showing progress towards returning here to the lineup, hopefully soon. You never want to see someone rushed back in. I think Coach O and the rest of the staff, they have a plan for They're not just going to push him in there unless he's ready, but I know definitely wants to be in the game this weekend if he's able to play. The Cats are coming off a loss to the Argos Saturday night. The Argos improved to 5-0 on the season, and the Ticats moved to 2-4 on the season. Taylor Powell had a solid game. It definitely wasn't his fault. He played very well for his first career start, but the Argos were just too much for the Ticats. I'm going to be going over that game on tomorrow's episode with Bubba O'Neill to get his take on everything and where this Ticats team is at right now. Now first, Coach O spoke about the return of the tough loss to the Argos, and more. Levi Mitchell makes his return to practice today. Just what was it like getting him back out there on the field?
Yeah, I mean, everybody's kind of anticipated this, so I mean, it's always great to have him back out there. He's been out there, but just the different capacity. Just I think being around his teammates. I actually asked him how it felt to be back out there. He thought I was referring possibly to the injury. I'm not even concerned about that. I'm talking about just how's it like to be back out with the guys, and I think he'll tell you he really enjoyed it. I think it just depends on your team. For us, it gives us a chance to really dive into the film a little bit, see where we need to be better, not rush it, give the players actually time to marinate a little bit, take care of their bumps and bruises, aches and pains, that sort of thing. And just really put the first third of the season behind us. It's really not, it is what it is. It's not going to define us. It's not our destination. We definitely need to be better in all three phases. And so it's really about welcoming that challenge and embracing it. The amount of reps, that sort of thing, how he feels. We'll see how he comes in tomorrow. We don't have any pressures to play, not play. We don't have that set. What we have set is a rehab plan, a structured one, and that's also flexible. You're looking for everything, right? It's not about going 0 to 100 right away. I mean, he's been diligent, and doctors, medical staff, therapy staff have done a great job, but then you got to play football. So there's not a timetable. It's about the next step in the process for and for us is to actually do football. A guy that he never left, just walks in the huddle, commands it, great understanding. Nothing's really changed except for he's in the huddle, right? He's been around practice. It's just from the side, and he still comes to meetings and he does all those things. So not a lot's changed that way, but, his arm seemed live. I think he's probably less a whole bunch of throws when you haven't thrown that many balls. So I think that was the biggest thing, and I thought he moved well when he had to.
That was Coach O following today's practice at Tim Hortons Field. Levi Mitchell, he spoke to media today about returning back to practice, and he also spoke about when we could be seeing him in a game. Your first practice here in a while. How did you feel out there to get back out on the field?
Felt good, man. Felt good to get back out there with the boys. Sitting there on the 6-game list and you're on the sideline, just working out and watching. It's fun to rehab and get better, but it's a lot more fun to play football.
Now you've gotten to watch this team from the sidelines over the last couple of weeks. Just what have your thoughts been on the offense's play since your absence?
I think guys have played awesome. I think there's times where just in general as a whole, not to single anybody out, I just think we're inconsistent. We've had some big plays, big shots, had some great drives, but it's whether it's the turnovers, mistakes, inability to finish in the red zone. Those are things that you have to do as an offense in this league. You saw the game last night, right? You got one quarterback throw for 450, 4 touchdowns, and lose a game. So like in this game, you've got to score to win. So, being able to put the ball downfield, when it's there, I think both the QBs have done a great job taking off and using their feet. Matt did a great job taking off downfield. Taylor, side to side, looked awesome moving around the pocket. Both guys did a great job commanding the offense. And, for me, those are things I have to make sure I implement in my game. If protection breaks down, being able to get out of the pocket, find the open guy, and not force anything up the field. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, we're a really open quarterback room, and Tommy's an open coach when it comes to guys implementing things and, talking about what they see. And, especially like, hey, Matt, how did you select the shot to Tim versus Edmonton? He's like, hey, I didn't see that. Why'd you see that? How'd you get your eyes there that fast? And those kind of discussions just lead to, all of us getting better. I think down the stretch, having 3 quarterbacks that have played meaningful reps, with a lot, starting a full game, whatever it is for Taylor, more times he plays or not, the entire team's gonna have more confidence no matter what happens towards the end of the season. If you have a guy that plays the entire season, goes down last game of the season, first playoff game, it's the unknown now. Okay, how is Matt going to play? How is Taylor going to play? So I think the fact that they've gotten reps, they feel good. Obviously, Matt has a bad one, but the more reps that we have as a group, the better we're going to be.
Are you playing Friday?
Straight to the point. Yeah, we'll see, man. I mean, I think the hopes is to play. But to be completely blunt and honest, I'm just going to test it out each day and be honest with O and say, hey, man, if I feel good, I'm good. And then at that point, now it's up to him to make that decision, right? So he'll see Taylor as well. Taylor's going to prepare like he's the guy. I'm going to prepare like I'm the guy. And if it comes to a point where I'm like, hey, it's gas, it's fatigue, and I have to pull off, then I have to pull off. But, my hope is that everything responds great. I feel great. I can play.
That was Bo Levi Mitchell. Tons of people excited and anxiously waiting for the return of the star QB. But as much as Ticats fans might want to see him back ASAP, we want to see him back at 100%. He's not going in that game unless he's ready to go. The training staff, the coaching staff, as Coach O said earlier, have a plan for Bo, and hopefully we see him in the near future. I sat down with Stavros Katsantonis to discuss his season so far, and we talked about what Stavros likes to do outside of football. Stavros, thanks for joining me. I wanted to talk to you a bit about not just you as the football player today, but I wanted to get into just you as a person, maybe the fans, some stuff they might not know about you. So on your spare time, when you're not playing football, you're not worrying about football, what are you doing for fun?
Well, if it's in the off season, during the season, there's not a whole lot of I guess, extracurriculars. When I do get an off day, I like to do some fishing, maybe some golfing, and out here, there's plenty of good places to go out here. So that's usually my go-to. In the off season, if I'm just hanging out at home, watch a Netflix show with my wife, or get on something that's binge worthy. Yeah. I also do a little YouTube stuff in the off season as well. It's a little tougher to do it during the season just because of the time constraints and the actual time it takes to going into making that stuff. But yeah, I do enjoy doing a little content creation as well.
What are you doing, content wise? What's the creation stuff you're doing?
As of recently, I've kind of been doing some CFL reaction videos. I've done a little bit of podcasting, and then just some overall Canadian football help videos and stuff like that. Okay. Just trying to give back a little bit to the next generation in any way that I can. And
then you said you Netflix a little bit. What are you and the wife watching? Do you have anything right now that's binge-worthy that you've been watching or checking out while you have time?
Yeah, so when we're apart, it's a little bit tougher to watch because she's back home working. But when we do get back together, our kind of go-to right now is The Mandalorian. That's kind of one of our favorites. Seinfeld is a big favorite of ours. We just started watching that after, not this last season, but the past off season.
Yeah, classic.
About a year or two ago. Yeah, and we love, that's kind of our background noise TV show that's okay, if all else fails, just they're on Seinfeld, we'll just watch that, and you can't go wrong with that one.
Now, I wanted to ask you a bit, because your story is pretty interesting when it comes to your university, being from California, but going to school in Canada. I'm sure you've told the story before, but for the listeners of Ticats today, just what was the process? What happened there? Why did you go from the States to Canada for school?
Yeah, definitely. I was going to originally walk on at the University of Washington out in Seattle, but my dad, who had played CIS or U Sports at that time, I think it was CIAU was the league at the University of Calgary, just had seen that Blake Nils moving on from Calgary to UBC, and he sent my film there to UBC and to the University of Calgary. And they drew some interest there and it ended up getting a scholarship. So I was like, oh, well, I'll take the money for school and stuff like that. And I was like, how hard can it be to go play up in Canada? And that's how I ended up at UBC. But it was definitely like I won't call it a rude awakening, but definitely a lot different adjusting to the Canadian game with the wider field, 12 men, the waggle, all that good stuff.
And so at what point during your time in BC did you think, hey, the CFL is a big option for me here?
Yeah, I think probably like at the start of my second year there, midway through my second year, I think I started to pay a little bit more attention. I knew about the CFL, but just wasn't that too in tune with it.
Yeah.
But after seeing kind of my first year, how, we went and won the national championship and kind of got national attention from there. We had a lot of guys get drafted. And from there, I was kind of like, oh, this could be something that, I could fall into. And then being a Canadian was an added benefit. So I would definitely say going into that second year, that started to get on my radar a little bit.
Now, there's an interesting fact someone told me. This could be completely false. But you've, in your past, done a little bit of real estate. Is that true?
Yeah, I do. I do currently have my real estate license
cool.
Back in Idaho. Yeah, I got that during COVID just as kind of just another thing to add into the book.
Yeah.
And, if anything else failed, just, something I could always fall back on because everyone always needs to either sell or buy a home. So, yeah, definitely something I've been interested in.
No, that's cool. Yeah, someone mentioned that to me. I was like, wow, the guy's a jack of all trades
yeah,
here.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to talk about this season briefly. Tough loss against the Argos.
Yeah.
Where do you think this defense is at and what needs to be done maybe to improve coming into this game against Ottawa?
Yeah, we're always working to get better, whether it's, win, lose, or draw. There's always stuff that we can get better at. I think obviously with this past Argos game, we just had a tough game, didn't make the plays that we needed to make. And, that's one of the things that we need to turn around defensively. I mean, you look at the games previous to that, we were forcing turnovers, making big plays. And I think you saw glimpses of that in this past game, but we just need to put together, an all-around better game defensively and just make more plays, so we can get our offense back on the field and so they can score as well.
And then one final question. You're playing a much bigger role on the team this year. Just how has that been for you, just getting that responsibility, a little more time on the field? Yeah,
definitely. I think, something I've mentioned a few other times and people have asked that question a lot. We're always taught here to prepare like we're the starter. So since I came in my rookie season, it wasn't something that I learned right away. I wouldn't say week one I was like that, especially in a COVID year where you didn't get preseason games and no experience. But the veterans that I had around me definitely taught me a lot. And each week, I was just trying to work on something to get a little bit better. And like I said, prepare like I was going to be the starter even as a rookie. So I think, that definitely prepared me for this moment. And, there wasn't a huge transition or anything like that needed to happen because, like I said, it was something that I've always been working on and, always been ready to do. And in whatever role I am on this team.
Awesome. That was Stavros Katsantonis. The guy's really stepped up this season and has taken on that bigger role on the Ticats secondary. I want to thank him and everyone else for being on the show today. Tomorrow, like I said, I will be recapping the Toronto game with Bubba O'Neill, so make sure to tune in tomorrow for the breakdown. That's all the time for me today. I want to thank you for listening to Ticats Today.